Now, there's more outrageous, just embarrassing. Can't really believe. I feel like I'm still watching the Saturday Night Live 40th anniversary show with this next one. Have you heard about Marie Harf at the State Department and what she said? She was on MSNBC last night, and we have a ban on all audio from MSNBC. She was on with Chris Matthews. And even Matthews was doing everything he could to agree with her and support her, but even he thought he was listening to a lunatic. Marie Harf said, "We cannot win the war on terror, nor can we win the war on ISIS by killing them. We need to find them jobs. We need to get to the root cause of terrorism, and that is poverty and lack of opportunity in the terrorist community." Now, this is exactly what I mean when I talk about young skulls full of mush being corrupted at the academy, at university, at colleges, institutions of higher learning. This woman is an absolute throwback to 1960s feel-good liberalism that is senseless. It's chickified. It denies reality. It is, and this is the number 2 spokeswoman at the State Department. And her boss is not very much more cogent. That would be the infamous Jen Psaki. Marie Harf, a spokeswoman for the U.S. State Department, said Americans cannot win against the Islamic State by killing them, and we ought to instead focus on addressing what she claimed was the root problem, their poor economy, and help them get jobs. Marie, you can't even do that in this country. You got 92.5 million Americans not even working in this country, and you are clueless about how to change that. And now all of a sudden, we're in a war, and we're not going to win this by... You know what the purpose of armies is to kill people and break things. Wars are not won with doctors and nurses and clean water and good vibes and jobs and all of the typical, nonsensical, worthless, touchy-feely, gooey, syrupy, sticky liberalism. It's getting dangerous out there. She said, we're killing a lot of them, and we're going to keep killing more of them. And so are the Egyptians, and so are the Jordanians. They're in this fight with us. We can't win this war by killing them. We cannot kill our way out of this war. We need, in the medium to longer term, to go after the root causes that leads people to join these groups. This embodies everything, that this regime refuses to acknowledge that these people are militant Islamists. And by the way, I have a theory about why that is. I think it all can be traced back to everybody on the left and everybody in the media who did nothing but lie and spread lies about how Bush had lied us into war. They succeeded in delegitimizing the Iraq war by spreading that lie that Bush lied to get us into it. I got a break here, but I'm going to expand on this because I think that's what we're dealing with here.
You're listening to Rush Limbaugh.
The big... This is really unbelievable. The situation in the Middle East is literally falling apart. We are in the midst of an ever-expanding war. We are the targets. Our allies are the targets. Peace-loving people, non-Muslims, are the targets. And ISIS is going to take this war as far as they can. Now, there are 2 things about ISIS. There is no question that they are attempting to establish a caliphate. But they need something for this to happen. They need territory. They need a state. One of the things that I learned on my troop visit to Afghanistan in 2005, because I ran into all kinds of people who, before I left, what are we over there for? I mean, it's Afghanistan. What the hell are we doing there? The Russians went there and died. What's going to keep us from having the same fate befall us? So I went over there. I found out something very key. The reason we were there, and remember now this is the Bush administration, the reason we were there, that is where Al-Qaeda's base of operations was, along with the Taliban. What fact then, and it's true now, is that the terrorist organizations need a state as a base of operations. They don't want to have to flee like nomads from territory to territory. And Afghanistan was an attempt by, they were trying to, and they still are, attempting to establish Afghanistan as the state. In this case, it was Al-Qaeda and the Taliban. And we were trying to prevent that. Now, ISIS, well on the way to establishing their caliphate, and if you look at a map that shows real estate that they have conquered, it's surprisingly big, but it's patchwork all through Iraq, just parts of the Middle East. What they need is a state, and they're well on the way to getting it. They're well on the way to getting Iraq. In the meantime, while all of this is happening, and it's very real, Iran is advancing toward the acquisition of a nuclear weapon, or in their case, the creation of one, production of their own nuclear weapon, not just the acquisition of one. If that happens, don't need to tell you what that means. Now, while ISIS is just on a rampage, beheading 21 Coptic Christians in Egypt, and this administration can't even call them Christians. This administration refuses to even call them Christians. This administration refuses to identify ISIS as Islamist. This administration refuses to call any of this terrorism. Breathtaking. It's absurd. But there's reasons for this. And the reasons go beyond the obvious. Some people think it's because, it's like Bob Beckel said, Obama was raised by people that were very friendly with Muslims, that he doesn't find Muslims threatening at all. He likes them. He grew up around them, in part raised by them, and he just can't believe, this is Beckel's words, he just doesn't believe that mainstream Muslims do this kind of stuff. He's not going to call these people Muslims. And he's not going to call them Islamists. Okay, there's that. Then there are those who think that Obama is much more sympathetic to Muslims than just that. So you have that group. But there are other reasons for this, folks. There are other reasons why this administration will not call what's happening, what everybody can see, what everybody knows is terrorism, why they won't use the word. In fact, get this, to show you how absurd this is becoming. Back in January, this is from townhall.com, Katie Pavlich, back in January, shortly after the Islamic terrorism massacre at Charlie Hebdo in Paris, the White House announced the development of a summit to combat extremism. And it's almost here. It's tomorrow, on February 18th, provided the government opens because of the snow. The White House will host a summit on countering violent extremism to highlight domestic and international efforts to prevent violent extremists and their supporters from radicalizing, recruiting, or inspiring others or groups in the U.S. and abroad to commit acts of violence. So there's this big summit is taking place tomorrow on extremism, not Islamic extremism. There's no mention of Islamic extremism in any of the descriptions or published accounts of the purpose of this summit. And the purpose of the summit, you know what it is? It's to find out what we are doing wrong that allows them to keep on recruiting. Like, why do so many Americans, more than the FBI can keep track of, why do so many Americans want to join ISIS? Why do so many Americans want to join these terrorists? We are going to conduct this, just like the State Department did after 9/11. They had a little summit. They had a seminar. What have we done to make them hate us? And 9/11, then, therefore, our fault. What did we do to make them so mad? So ISIS is on the march, on the way to their caliphate. They are committing acts of barbarism that this administration will not even identify, will not even refer to it as terrorism. And now they send their spokesbabe out in the State Department to say, well, we cannot kill our way out of this war with ISIS. We're going to have to get to the root cause. We're going to have to find them jobs. we're going to have to find a way to economically empower them. And every left-wing, syrupy, embarrassingly sickening cliche that you can conjure that you've ever heard is being articulated by this administration. Situation in Middle East continuing to worsen. The State Department Deputy Spokesperson Marie Harf said yesterday, we can't kill our way out of war against ISIS. How do we win? How do we stop this? Well, if I were ISIS, I wouldn't be afraid right now. Nothing we do right now seems to be directed at stopping this. As Chris Matthews telling Marie Harf, if I were ISIS, I wouldn't be bothered. We're not even trying to stop them. So Harf replied by saying, well, we are killing a lot of them, and we're going to keep killing more of them, and so are the Egyptians and so are the Jordanians. But we can't win this war by killing them. We can't kill our way out of this war. Can somebody name for me a war our country has won without killing our way to victory? You know what happens in war? I mean, the purpose of the military is to kill people and break things. That's it. But here you have, this is a classic. This is exactly the kind of thing I'm referring to when I talk about the corruption that's occurred in our universities and colleges. This woman is simply a product of the deranged, delusional beliefs of the professors and the graduate assistants and the teaching assistants. And I'm going to tell you where I think this is rooted. Obviously, it's rooted in the natural pacifism of people on the left. But there's something else. And I think this is also an additional reason why this administration will not call terrorism terrorism. And it's not just that Obama has vanquished it. It's not just that Obama said that with bin Laden's death, we got rid of al-Qaeda. He did say that. And so Obama has to stick with the idea that al-Qaeda's been vanquished. They can't have come back to life. He took care of them. Okay, but that's an explanation for it, too. But Obama also said that he had these people on the run. Terrorism's on the run, and this really isn't terrorism. It's just it's random this and random that. It's like street crime. So Obama's invested in calling this thing other than what it is. But in addition to all these reasons, what is another? And it always comes down, whether you accept this or not, particularly at a period of time where Obama's not seeking election again, it still comes down to his base. The lunatic base, the people in this country that vote Democrat who've been driven insane with rage and hatred by all the lies they were told during the Iraq War. And one of the biggest lies that they were told during the Iraq War was that Bush lied us into war. That lie has, I think now, as I look back, I think that propaganda has done more damage to this nation's ability to take on legitimate terrorism with confidence and assurity and defeat it. For however many years the Iraq War went on, every night on Comedy Central, practically every night, the audience there heard about it was all a lie. That Bush lied, people died, Bush, Hitler. Now, at the time this was going on, I will admit that I miscalculated again, like I have done way too many times over the course of my 25-year career, 27-year career now. When the left goes bat excrement crazy, I always make the mistake of assuming nobody's going to believe this. Like, all sex is rape, even the sex of... I had no idea people were going to believe. You look at what's coming out of feminist studies at universities, it's worse than that. All sex is rape now on college. It really has come to pass. All these insane, lunatic things that the left has articulated over the last quarter century, so many of them I thought, this is hilarious. Who's going to believe this? Now we got Marie Harf out there saying, well, you can't kill our way out of this. We have to solve this by finding them jobs. The economic circumstances are the last thing on the list of why these people become terrorists. And most of the leaders are so well endowed with money, they're wealthy. They are not. They don't fit this profile of destitute economically and poor and have nothing else to do. They're wealthy. They show up to the mosques in Saudi Arabia. They get radicalized. It has nothing to do with economics. Finding them jobs, the whole notion of projecting on these people Western values, they're trying to destroy them. ISIS hates Western civilization. They're trying to wipe it out. Here comes Marie Harf. Yes, we need to find them jobs. Jobs, but not hamburger flippers. Oh, no. We've got to get real jobs. Raise the minimum wage for ISIS. That should be the new battle cry for the regime. You want to stop ISIS? Raise the minimum wage for them. Find jobs. Yeah, but what about the 92.5 million Americans not working here? Well, that's a different situation. No, it's not. This regime can't find work for the people this country want it. And all of a sudden, the State Department's out saying the solution to ISIS is finding them jobs. And we are supposed to sit here and take this seriously? In the meantime, every night for whatever number of years, 7 years, 6 years, Comedy Central, Stewart, Colbert, you name it, Bush lied. The mainstream media, every day, every week, Bush lied. What did that do? In the minds of young skulls full of mush, it turned the Iraq War into a joke, number one. It turned Bush into a joke. It turned the country into a joke. And it told everybody that everything we were doing over there was illegitimate because we had no business being there, that there was no terrorism. Bush lied about it. He sent Colin Powell to the UN to lie about it. There were no weapons of mass destruction. Bush lied. And if you sit there and say that enough times, year after year after year, to an audience that thinks they're tuning into a comedy show, they're going to end up believing this. And many of these people make up the deranged, literally insane, filled with hatred Democrat Party base. And Obama can't call it terrorism because his comedian buddies have spent 7 years saying it didn't exist. Bush lied about it. We can't stop ISIS from taking over Iraq because we had no business being there in the first place. There is no ISIS taking over Iraq. Bush lied about it. There is no terrorism. That's why it's random acts of street crime. Random beheadings here, random 21 beheadings on the beach over there. But it's like street crime. It's just the folks angry now and then and committing crimes, sometimes beheading people. But it's not terrorism. And it certainly isn't Islamic. Bush lied. The fact that Bush didn't lie. Every intelligence agency in the Western world was convinced that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. By the way, let me find this here. What if I put it in this next? State Department yesterday had somewhat of a shocking story. The New York Times yesterday had this story. In the aftermath of the Iraq War, the CIA purchased from an unidentified intermediary no fewer than 400 boric warheads filled with sarin gas, a deadly nerve gas, and they were from Iraq. They found the weapons of mass destruction, is the point. The New York Times reported it yesterday. What have you heard about it? Nothing. To the extent people are commenting, Russia, those are old warheads, those are old rockets, 1990. That's not the point. Saddam always lied and said that he'd gotten rid of that stuff. That the weapons of mass destruction that we thought he had was new stuff. He'd gotten rid of the old stuff. Yeah, it's old stuff they found. He lied about it. Saddam lied. The United Nations lied. Bush did not lie. And even if there hadn't been weapons of mass destruction, and like most of the skulls full of mush in this country believe, doesn't mean Bush lied. How many times has Obama blamed faulty intelligence? Quite a bit. How often did Jon Stewart or Colbert or anybody in the media say, Obama lied, people died, Obama lied? They don't say it, do they? George Bush is a lying piker compared to Barack Obama and Joe Biden and Harry Reid and the whole of the Democrat Party establishment. Bush can't even hold a candle to him. But I'm telling you, this is one of the reasons why Obama is not calling this what it is. I don't know how big a reason, but it's in the mix. But worse than that is that everybody in the left-wing media has gone to town on this whole notion that Bush lied. And it's been established he didn't lie. He didn't lie us into war in Iraq. He did not tell falsehoods. The Democrats saw the same evidence Bush did in 1998 and demanded we go in there when Clinton was president. All of this was known. They didn't lie. The Clinton administration, CIA, intelligence found the same stuff the Bush administration. I've got to take a break here. I'm getting worked up about this because it ticks me off.
Hit alert. Never miss a single...
Democrats saw the exact same intel that George W. Bush saw, and they wanted a second vote on the use of force resolution because they got it wrong opposing it the first time. They saw the same stuff. They just politically turned it around after a few months. Bush lied, Bush lied. They picked it up all over the media, and that's all she wrote. And, of course, the Bush administration never countered it, never dealt with it, never responded to it because they thought it was unseemly to introduce politics into the Oval Office. So it was allowed to stand on Bush lied. Yeah, Bush lied, people died. So now we got Obama can't call it terrorism because the people of this country were told there wasn't any, and Obama defeated it. And there is no ISIS. We can't, ISIL, but it's not serious. It's just not, because there wasn't any of this stuff. They would have to acknowledge that they lied, not Bush, if Obama and his gang were to man up and deal with this head on. In order to do that, they would have to acknowledge that they were lying all these years about what was going on in the Middle East. Anyway, Julie in Riverside, California.